But originally she come down to where we were fishing, and somebody said, "Hey, there's a bear coming down." One of the guys take after.
All right.
Put his hands up in the air, scream, throw rocks at it.
A little bit of technical difficulties to get started, but it looks like we're online.
It's pretty high, actually. As long as you didn't have cups. It said if it had cups, you could something like that, you're pretty damn sure.
My daughter worked on fire watch towers up in the top of the mountains, and every morning she'd do her radio check, weather, and then she'd go on a walk. And she come down the road, the access road, and come around a corner. Here's an old sow with her cubs down there, 300 feet, 400 feet, and she said the grizzly saw her and just she's charging up the hill, and she's going, "Whoa, bear!"
Well, that's nice. We got really good light down there.
Don't make yourself big. Her dog just sat right beside her, and growled, but she didn't do anything. And she phoned
Jim,
me
is this your
afterwards to
notebook?
tell me about this.
Do you mind if I move that?
She says,
No, it's.
I was pretty proud of myself.
I hate to require so much.
It's
It's amazing where we've gone with all this stuff because it was never my intention to have this much equipment on the table.
Of course. But time marches on, and
And they
suddenly
have some Pekingese.
we have a big pillow.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. If you got aggressive little dogs.
Now what just happened? Because we had great light down there just a moment ago.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, when I'm walking up there,
Just learned something new about one of my cameras. All I got to do is tilt it down a little bit, and the aperture opens up, and I can see perfectly through it. That is great.
So are we looking at the world here?
We are connected. Hello, world.
You're 2 minutes late. Get going.
I am 2 minutes late. This is the San Carlos Computer Club. I'm Scott Stimson from International Computer Solutions, and we should get started. Thank you. Welcome. I don't know whether to be excited that nobody heard I wasn't going to be here or that everybody thought I wasn't going to be here, so they showed up without me. I was not supposed to be here, but my errand got postponed indefinitely, so I was able to show up. I sent out a little bit of an announcement, but I didn't follow it up because... What's that?
Your hearing?
No, my errand. I was getting set up to go up to Arizona and help my folks move from one place to another, and they've had some closing issues, and so they're not sure when they're doing the moving now. So I'd forgotten to mention it last week, and I had told a couple of people that I was not going to be here, and obviously no one got the message. I hope that's the obvious reason. No, it's actually their snowbird place in Arizona. They're just moving from a park model gated community to a condo, and they wanted some help, so I was going to go up there and help them move some stuff. Yeah. Muscle, another minivan, stuff like that.
They promised him beer.
Well, welcome. We meet every Tuesday from 9:15 to 10:15, well, 9:15-ish. We start a little late sometimes if our internet's not working, but it's up and working now. It was just unplugged. Oh, thank you. I was going to mention, I got my wallet back. If nobody's aware of it. Thank Facebook and my wife for being such a diligent user of the platform. Apparently, I didn't realize this, but there is a number of groups locally that sell stuff. There's a number of Facebook groups for Wymus, and I imagine it's the same in many cities, that are used for selling and buying used items.
Like Craigslist?
Yeah, well, that kind of concept, yeah, but through Facebook. And my sister-in-law had mentioned to Yuya that they find in these groups often when something is stolen, they'll post that it's been stolen to see if they can come up with it. It's making it difficult to sell stolen stuff in those groups, but if somebody's come across the items, they can post that they've had them. And so she posted that my wallet was missing. No questions asked. We just want the immigration papers back and the driver's license back, and we would give a reward to anybody that came up with them. And within about 2 days, somebody contacted us saying, "I think we've got your wallet." And after meeting them, I'm fairly confident they had nothing to do with getting into my car. We met at their work. They weren't going to have anything to do with us unless I showed up so she could compare the pictures on the wallet, and all that sounded very sincere. But I got every card back. The cash was gone. Somebody had obviously gone through the wallet, but meticulously put everything back in the wallet.
Where'd this happen?
Yeah, I hope that's not the case. She seemed like a very sincere person.
Where'd this happen? That you lost?
Well, my car, somebody got into it a couple of weeks ago in the old Bonifacio's parking lot while I was out there kiteboarding. Somebody got into the car and took my wallet and took a Bluetooth speaker and some other items. No.
So Scott, what did you learn about this?
Well, the first thing I did, I'm paying more attention to my automatic door locks, that's for sure. But from this group and your suggestions, I immediately made a photocopy of my immigration card, stuck my immigration card in the lockbox, and stuck the photocopy in my wallet. The more and more I think about it, it's like nobody's ever asked me for that card. Why am I carrying it around with me, right? This is Mexico. I know I can spin a story better than I can deal with losing that card. And if I were ever asked for it, I could hand them a photocopy and say, I can produce the real card. I can meet you in court if I need to. I'll pay a fine, but at least it's not stolen.
Right.
Yeah. And so
Nor
that's.
are you giving it up to somebody who may not be anxious to give it back to you?
Well, and that's the case with our American driver's license, isn't it? Is that if you get pulled over by a police officer, they don't think you have any incentive to pay any infraction, and so they'll hang on to your license until you show up to pay an infraction. Yeah.
I lost my license to a fine.
Right.
I think the Senor Salcido in Hermosillo is still going on. He put out a letter a number of years ago that if you're stopped, for a supposed infraction, he gives you his home phone number, his work phone number, and he also gave you the information you print out once in Spanish, one in English. You give it to the officers so he can fill out what the infraction is, and you can also call him anytime, day or night. Oh, he did? Well, so much for that.
And someone was supposed to take his place, but I don't think it ever happened.
Okay.
Last spring break, there were some young people dressed like federales walking around the marina, handing out cards that said in Spanish and English, if you get hassled by a federal cop, call this number.
Really?
Little business cards. I'll bring one next week.
Okay.
Yeah, let's look at that.
Maybe I'll make a copy of it and just email it to the group.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Scott, how do you find this on Facebook?
You know what? I've asked my wife to send me the links to the groups, and I just haven't gotten them yet.
Okay.
But I could share them with you guys when I've got them.
Facebook, go down to marketplace.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's
Now, the marketplace definitely is locally based on your location. But these were actually private selling groups, and Yuya had to become members of those groups to post in them. And she really wasn't that aware of them until my sister-in-law was telling her about it, because my sister-in-law has been doing selling through these groups. So it would be good to know. Apparently, you have to be given. You have to be granted to be a group member of these groups.
You mean like the Mercado Libre?
Well, we're talking about Facebook, and there's groups in Facebook that their intention is for buying and selling of used goods.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily used, but anything. And they're closed groups. You know what? I imagine they're closed groups because eBay. I imagine they're closed groups because people can sell new items that came into the country through some weird means, and they're not reporting taxes on them.
So you have to be a member to see what's for sale on Raleigh Street?
That's right. So she had to be allowed to come into the group before she could see any of the products that were being bought or sold there. But I was very happy to get the wallet back. In case you don't know, my wife, who helps people with immigration stuff all the time, made it clear to me that the most expensive thing I lost in that theft was my permanente, because even though they would give it right back to me, I mean, we would have to still fill out the paperwork, submit for it, and pay $400 to get another card.
Wow.
Yeah. I figured $400 is much more expensive than any infraction I might get because I don't have the card with me.
True.
But you hadn't started the process, so you
No.
were okay.
In fact, the day we were contacted was the day she was going to start the process, so it was really, really good timing.
You know, I did that with my driver's license. I went down to the local office shop here, and they lost it.
You mean they laminated it for you? Yeah.
Well, that's a good idea.
The one
Yeah.
right across the street.
Yeah.
I tried that once, almost
Yeah.
Copier.
That's an awesome idea, Chester. Now, do you keep like 4 or 5 of them along with you just in case they? Okay, there you go.
Hey Scott, I did that once, almost got arrested for trying to use a phony driver's license.
In the States or?
Was that in the US?
No, it's here.
Oh, yeah.
Here in Mexico.
That's interesting.
No, it wasn't, it was a phony driver's license, I copied it.
Wait, it was a real license you copied, or?
Yeah, right.
Okay. It wasn't phony until he was looking at the copy, going, "This isn't a real
I don't know if
license."
Ronald McDonald threw him or what.
Hey, Scott? Was it laminated?
Yes, it was.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Scott,
Yes, Bob.
you know, this is the largest group we've ever had. And this conversation ought to go to a little bit of computer stuff.
Well, the tech angle was Facebook.
You missed that?
That is not
Well, I did come with some topics, but do people have any questions or topics they'd like to share? Anything that's changed in the last week?
I need to bring my schematic.
Go ahead, Paul.
Oh, I bought a hard disk drive, backup,
Okay.
and it works great. It tells me it's backed up everything on this little 2 terabyte unit. I go to look at what's backed up, I can't find it on my computer. I mean, on the
On the drive?
drive, yeah. I'll bring it next week.
Yeah, let's plug it in and take a look at what's going on with it.
I can't do it.
Work on your.
Seagate,
It's a Seagate?
yeah.
Yeah, as long as it's a USB 3. Yeah.
Brand new.
Bob, you said you had a topic?
I do. I'm very quick, and maybe it's something we can't even deal with at this point, but I'm interested in virtual walls. We talk about walls at the border, people are against walls, but virtual walls in buildings will come about here shortly, I believe. You see on TV these huge screens they have for newscasts and such, and they look like a whole wall.
Right, yeah.
A fellow that was here, Ronald, the black man,
Mm-hmm.
he has the ability to call up, we were just talking about this, pictures that he can project onto his screen or to a wall that lasts for 10 seconds, or a minute, or for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to know if there is, Jim says there is a deal on Windows, but Ronald says that it's only on Android. You know what I'm talking about? It's an app.
It's,
I thought you were talking about your desktop computer. You're saying projecting it.
Well, projecting it is a simple thing to do once you've got it on your computer.
well, I mean, yeah, I mean, a vague way around it. What Windows 10 has is the ability to receive or send the display and project it on like a TV set or even a projector wirelessly if it's been built for it. That Miracast would allow you to do something. I'm just having trouble. What is the topic that we're?
Well, what what Ronald has is he has masters paintings
Okay.
that he can project,
And
and he can project scenes that are worldwide.
so that in itself would be an easy app to find if it was just bringing up artwork. There used to be screensavers that were really popular that would do things like that, where they would download pictures, works of art, pictures from around. Well, in fact, Windows 10 startup screen does that right now, where every time you turn on Windows 10, there may be a new display on the screen. And that's actually pretty cool. I've got a home theater PC on a big screen, a 60-inch screen, and it's kind of fun to have that displaying something when it's just sitting there not being used. And I definitely see a future where these screens are just everywhere, economically priced and large. Just we're probably going to see less windows and more screens, less actual windows and more screens installed where you would think to find a picture window in a house, where you can do that sort of thing to the extent of you have a webcam outside that's projecting like a window onto that screen instead of a window. That's right. And that is very intriguing. I've seen things where you have a screen behind a mirror in the bathroom, and so you can call up weather, you can watch videos, you can deal with your schedule or your calendar right there. Just offhand, does that topic makes me think of this new group in town doing smart homes, the Horizon. Does anybody here have a connection to that group? It would be neat if we could get them to come in and talk to us about what they're offering. If somebody could get a message back to them, just like we had Marco Cruz come in and talk to us about solar, it would be neat to see what they're offering as far as smart home stuff, the cameras, the door locks, and whatever else that they're thinking plays a part in a smart home around here. So if anybody ends up talking with that group, please invite them to communicate with me so we could set up a time to have them come in.
I'm supporter on Amazon.
On Amazon?
Yes.
All right.
Good.
I'll tell you, I can't believe it. I ordered some stuff down here.
Yep.
From the day I ordered it, 5 days later, it was at my house.
Yes.
Amazon.mx?
MX, absolutely.
Have-
How
The
did
same
you
as-
get
huh?
registered
Huh?
on that? I tried to register yesterday, and I couldn't, I can get registered, but I'm not fluent enough in Spanish.
Okay, that's easy. Translate it. Google Translate. Yeah, it does it. Go into, it
Of course.
will do.
Well-
But it's the same account you have in the U.S. It knows my password. It knows my Amazon Prime number. It's just in Spanish. So then I have
Well-
three addresses.
But you're still getting shipping
Let-
from
let-
Mexico City, not from.
Yeah, let's correct that. Your Prime doesn't count in Mexico unless you buy Mexican Prime. There's two different sites. Your Amazon account does. It's the same account. You're able to sign into Amazon.mx or Amazon.com.mx. It goes to the same place. And what I noticed the other day, I was helping somebody fill out their address book, and when they first started doing this stuff, it was difficult to get the region here put correctly in the Mexican address book because it's using an algorithm looking at data, and it would end up looking like a Guaymas address. And that always made me nervous, and so I'd go over to the U.S. side of things and I'd put a Mexican address in there, and it was much more flexible. Well, what I noticed is that's changed now, and you can very specifically, all these different sectors around town, the Ranchitos, Villahermosa, Caracol Turístico, all these areas are actually listed now in their address book. So you can fill it out on the Mexican side. You don't have to do it in the American side.
Comment on that.
I see a bunch of hands. Stanley, right? Irving.
Stanley's my brother. but
Okay.
memory.
Go ahead, Irving.
Well, anyway, I've had some experience now with Prime, Mexican Prime, because I order a lot of little trunks. found out that, it works very, very well with Estacada and FedEx. But I had a lots and lots of trouble with DHL. And I've been down to the office, they kind of held it in Alameda. And I went down to the office a few times, and the last time, they claimed they couldn't find my house, even though the same driver that delivers for the other three was the same driver that delivered to me. But they finally straightened it out, and I find that if I order something today, I get it just from the United States 2 days later,
Yeah.
1 day later, and once you get your ducks in a row with them, of course you gotta be a member of the Mexican economy. It's fast. The only negative, of course, is you gotta watch the prices, because it's hugely different from what you can buy in the United States.
Yeah, that's true.
More or less.
Actually, different is probably the best way to describe it, because there are things that I have bought down here that I could have bought in the States, and ironically, it was cheaper for me to buy them down here. I think it has more to do with what's in their warehouses in what country.
Right.
What
The
about,
zip code here, our postal code is, 85506.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Question.
Oh, is it?
Question.
Yeah, Linda.
Can you talk a little bit more about the mesh networks, and do they work down here?
The mesh networks, we were talking about the Euro.
Yes.
I think that's the correct way to pronounce it, the Euro. And that technology that I was using, that's a local area network technology. So anywhere you'd want to put together a local area network, that technology would work. It's not dependent on whatever internet there is. It's this level. It's of network.
Well, I guess then I'm not talking about the right thing.
Okay.
One of these where you buy the boxes and you put them in different places in your house?
Yeah, that's what we're referring
Same
to.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the way that works is that you just provide internet either through like a cable modem or a DSL modem. You plug it into a base station, and then you have these other access points that the Euro calls them beacons.
Okay, so that's different than the ones we did at your house?
It's
mine?
Linda, you're familiar with the one we have right here in Tequilas. It's completely different
But
from
that's
this.
wired.
Well-
I'm talking about the ones we did at, not your house.
You're talking about the Wi-Fi repeater,
The one that I
range extender.
sold to him where it plugs in the walls.
Okay.
And it didn't work at my house because,
So-
The wiring was screwed up.
Yes, it's probably because the wiring was screwed up.
right,
So what we're talking about is we're talking about power line range extenders, Wi-Fi range extenders, and mesh Wi-Fi range extenders.
right.
Those are the
You
three
buy the
different.
new little boxes.
Yeah.
You can buy 1, 2, 3 boxes or whatever.
So probably the big difference between a Wi-Fi range extender and a mesh range extender is that all the access points in a mesh network can talk to each other. So they're distributed. There's one central point, but you've got these other access points in your network. And if it's faster to send data from an access point to an access point to the internet versus the access point to the internet, then your data will travel that way. It will elect to follow a different route back to the internet because it knows that's faster than going straight to. And the reason it would be faster is because of the distance. It could be that there's a concrete rebar wall. It might be only 3 feet away, but there's this wall in front of it. Whereas in the other room is another access point, and it's got clean line of sight to the internet. And so it bounces over that direction and comes to the internet.
Okay, but is there any difference using the bridge? Using a Wi-Fi extender? Isn't that what it is, a more elaborate Wi-Fi extender?
So if you were using a base station and a beacon like this Euro, there isn't much difference. If it's between between that and a Wi-Fi extender, just those two pieces, it's not much more uncommon than having your regular Wi-Fi and an extender hanging out there.
Okay, so I have a Buffalo router, it's
Mhm.
attached to the Telmex.
Right.
And then I have a Wi-Fi extender in the living room
Mm-hmm.
to run the TV and,
Right. And so,
but one of these other things, is that worth the money to spend on that?
so the way this Euro would work is you would want more than one, they call them beacons. So you'd
But
want to
they
have
plug
more than
in,
one
right?
beacon. They plug in, but the plug-in has nothing to do with data through the power line. That's a whole
Oh,
different
okay.
thing.
That's what I was trying to get at. Unlike the other thing that we had, where you plug them into the wall and you're actually getting the internet from the.
Yeah. And when you
wiring.
yeah. It's a little convoluted when you think about tequilas here because this is actually a power line extender. It's that hardware.
He's got a wire running across.
Exactly. And so what we've done is we've elected to take a different option, not use the power line, but use an actual physical Ethernet cable to provide the internet over here because their lines they got like 2 meters and different circuits, and that's the problem with the power line extender, is that you have to have the same electrical
See, I think
circuit.
that's what was wrong in my house. That's why I'm confused.
Transformer is.
So you have to be on the same transformer.
Well, it's still within the same house. You can be on a leg that's not on the same phase.
Okay, different phase. Yep.
Yeah, and that's very common around here. It's a way a lot of.
Standard wiring.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this new system? I just heard about it a few months ago where they're using airplanes. They can put like repeaters in airplanes
Mm-hmm.
and broadcast Wi-Fi all over the world.
Yeah. And they've been working on drones to do that. They've been working on solar-powered drones to exist in the
There's
sky.
a company I'm really interested in looking at. It might be a good time to get into something like that.
Irving, did you have something to add?
To clarify her question, is there any advantage to it?
There is. I mean, it's very expensive.
What is the advantage?
I'll tell you, it worked so successfully at my customer's installation that I'm convinced it's not using the standard Wi-Fi we think of, that it's using a proprietary Wi-Fi for its mesh system that allows it to take advantage of a better throughput. I was able to get into a beacon and see that it had a very strong signal with its base station, much more than any typical Wi-Fi would have to a Wi-Fi access point. And I thought that was amazing. And this idea of mesh is just like the example of maybe it's behind a rebarred wall. If you have more than one, then you have more than one route back to your internet connection. And so you could have a beacon in a bedroom. Your internet may be on the opposite side of a rebar wall, and you could have a beacon across the hall. And your Wi-Fi could go across the hall and then go over, avoiding the rebarred wall.
Would it eliminate the need for an extra connection?
Well, I think you'd have to be the judge of that. It would really depend on what kind of throughput you got to be compatible with using a cable. To be comparable to a cable, you'd have to test and see. I was really caught off guard by how robust this connection was, and that's why I think that they're using their own proprietary mesh scheme that allows them to get more speed between their devices.
I saw an ad yesterday on television. DirecTV is advertising $10 a month for DirecTV, and it's wireless.
And it's wireless, yeah.
Wireless.
That's
Yeah.
satellite.
Because AT&T.
$10 a
That's a
month
come
for
on.
3 months.
Hmm.
That's a come on. That's a come on. That's only good for short periods of time.
3 months.
3 months.
But it's
Then
the
what is it?
idea. You don't need a damn antenna anymore.
Right. Well, yeah.
Because AT&T bought it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So they break the box.
on the commercial.
That's interesting. So are they telling you that you can, I mean, do they give you a box?
I don't know, they showed, didn't the commercial show they were breaking the box or something?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, they were, in fact, what they did is the commercial was, he lit a fuse that went in and
Right.
there went the box, no muss.
Hmm.
And it's wireless and, shoot, $10 a month.
Hey, if I could just add one more thing on the mesh network equipment that we're going to start seeing a lot of, one of the real advantages of it is the ability to add one more mesh beacon. So if you get to a point in your house where that Wi-Fi is lousy, you buy another one of these proprietary devices, plug it in that area, all of a sudden you have more internet. The more of the, with the mesh, see, if you added a bunch of wireless range extenders, you would constantly be in conflict with yourself. Your computer wouldn't know which one to connect to. Sometimes it would be connected to one that's very far away when you're right next to one. There is no intelligence behind that. So you have to.
It does that. When you walk into the, if I have the tablet out in the living room and then I walk into where the other stuff is, it'll switch over to that one.
Well, hopefully it switches over, but sometimes it'll hang on to the old one.
It does, and then all of a sudden you start having a problem with it, and then you got to go back in.
And manually switch it over to that device.
Right.
And the mesh network uses a scheme where you don't have to think about any of that. Everything is the same Wi-Fi pocket as far as your device is concerned.
But do you think it's worth spending the money on that?
I did not think it was worth $300 until I saw it in action, and then I understood. I think that right now it's a hard sell because one of their key selling points is ease of setup, and there was nothing easy about setting it up.
Right.
And I know that has more to do with the software that they're distributing with it. I mean, I watched 3 updates happen in the period of 2 weeks to the software. That's how new this stuff is. I suspect in 6 months, anybody's going to be able to buy one of those devices out of the box, set it up with their phone, and away they go. But right now, it's that part. And to their credit, their customer support team was immediately available. I called them through Skype on my phone, and I was able to talk to them, and they were able to see the devices through the internet. I just gave them a serial number. They could see the devices through the internet, and they were able to set them up for me, and I basically just kind of babysat what they were working on, making sure things got plugged in. So they know that their software isn't quite up to snuff, but they've got people ready to deal with those issues. So here's my prediction. In 6 months, anybody could buy this equipment out of the box, set it up themselves. But if they can't, I bet they're going to be waiting on hold for customer support because they will have anointed it easy to set up, and they will cut back on their customer support.
It comes from Taiwan.
And so it goes.
But I was very impressed. I was much more impressed with the product than I thought I was going to be, especially at that price tag.
Back to the DirecTV thing. DirecTV was a satellite to an antenna to a wire to a TV, and people looked at that and said, we want to put this up in your phone. And so that's when AT&T bought it, and they switched from that technology to the internet technology. And so now you'll be able to get DirecTV on everything.
That's what I do with Dish, with my brother's Dish account. I can get his live feed through the internet.
Already.
Cast it through my Roku.
Mm-hmm.
But if you know anybody that's got a DirecTV, there's a deal called DirecTV Now that goes through the Roku. All you gotta do is plug in the account number of it, and you get their on-demand stuff. I haven't checked their live stream out yet. I think there's a live stream.
But this is very similar to what was that service? Mike, you had it.
Slingbox?
The Slingbox. It's a very similar idea to Slingbox. The difference is the DirecTV as a company is providing these feeds to stream through the internet, not you at your other location or your friend at their other location, but it's I mean, they're essentially getting set up to compete against Netflix and the like.
I do that here in Mexico.
What's that?
Try to go through the internet and get
With DirecTV? Well, Paul, are you doing that? Somebody was doing
I'm
that.
doing Roku.
You're doing Roku, yeah.
I'm doing it with that.
And Ed's doing it. That's what Ed's talking
I'm
about.
doing it.
You're doing the streaming AT&T,
No,
DirecTV? No.
I have 12 people in my group. How many people do you have in your group?
I don't do it anymore.
My DirecTV is, thinks I'm in Tucson.
Irving?
I have DirecTV, so they go subscribe, or it's like
$10 a month.
I just pay every month, and I get
You're using a satellite dish in a box? Okay, because the distinction we're making is that DirecTV now is offering this streaming service. Yeah. Yeah, I think DirecTV's goal is to get rid of satellite dishes.
Yes.
You bring your own connection, and they provide service the same way Netflix provides service and Hulu provides service. Yeah, I mean, they can. I don't know if that breaches their service agreements or not. I'm not.
And the other
Yeah, but
issue
your
is,
IP address does.
Yeah.
the other issue is recording. You come through the internet, can still record 5 stations at one time.
You know.
Probably not.
Well, you know, Chester, what that would end up becoming probably is more a bandwidth issue than anything else. Do you have enough bandwidth to get 5 stations at the same time, or do you need to? Maybe you can have a cloud service, kind of like US. Does anybody still use that TV Now, USA TV Now? It seems like they offered a DVR service where you could set up a list of things you wanted to record, and none of that is actually here on your computer. It's all over on their servers waiting for you to come get it.
I think that may be where we go to, but yes, in football season, I could record 3 or 4 games at one time, and watch what I want to, or I can, just like last night, I recorded 3 movies at the same time.
You know, if DirecTV, my Roku, thinks I'm in California, doesn't know I'm in Mexico. That's because they're registered up there. That's what you recommended. So if I get DirecTV through my Roku, it would be the same thing. Wouldn't know I was here, right?
Well, I think your Roku doesn't care. I think Mexico cares. I don't think your Roku cares. I think DirecTV only cares when it comes to
Licensing.
Thank you. That's what I was going for, is licensing. I think that they need to, like Netflix, put up the appearance that they are protecting the distribution licenses in these other countries. And so they need to stop you from getting content from the United States in a foreign country, because each foreign country has their own licensing laws and they have their own distributors for that
I'm
content.
gonna go home and try it. Right after.
Okay, I have a,
Has anyone looked at the geolocation and how it works? In other words, with geolocation is a general term, and there's like 6 different methods to determine where you're getting the signal.
Cerise
So
doesn't
somebody
care.
like CBS All Access uses one method.
Mhm.
It's different. It does not use, well, I think it uses the IP of where you are. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But other things do not use it. So I use my Mexican location. And there's different techniques to do it, but I've never seen a good write-up of who's using what
There's
technique.
a GPS one, I know that.
And there's a GPS one, one of the 6.
Yeah.
Well, and truthfully, I mean, if a service has an incentive to block you from accessing, all they really need is IP information. All they really need to know is either your actual IP, because it is in Mexico, or if you're using a VPN, they just need to keep track of pools of VPN numbers.
But
And
the CBS has a stronger reason to find you out, because it's their content that's being taken, than Netflix does, because they're just rebroadcasting other content. So they might use one of the 6 that's even more accurate in determining where you are.
Well,
I was just looking,
Sirius
has anyone
doesn't
seen a
care.
list of
That's them.
what techniques, so that you can figure out what you want to do about it, or you want to do it?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen a list of.
I've seen the list, that here's the different techniques they can use.
But you're looking for one that corresponds to services we might be interested in using.
So it's literally an issue for people like us who are expats out of the country that, where they want to do.
Yeah, sure.
well, I will bet that DirecTV won't allow a VPN.
Just like
They're
Netflix,
probably
that just
not
say,
gonna allow a VPN because that way they'll be able to tell that your IP address is in Mexico as soon as you get the DirecTV. So that's how they'll control it more than just satellite dishes.
Because Netflix doesn't care that I'm here.
Yes, they do. You're getting, as soon as you come to the border, you're getting Mexican Netflix. People will argue with you and say, well, no, you're not, but you are. You're getting
Okay.
Mexican Netflix.
Just try to get the subtitles in English. That's where the problem
yeah,
comes in.
that's a good good test of.
Yeah, so.
Well, you
You get
don't
'em in
notice
English?
it.
Okay.
You don't notice it that you're getting Mexican Netflix.
Well, that's really what they've done is they've worked really hard to get good licensing agreements in foreign countries so that people are satisfied, so they're not trying to violate copyright laws and rights. Ed, you've had your hand up for a while now. What do you?
Okay, with her deal, I've used HBO or DirecTV now down here. I was able to put like a password for a couple days, and it's streamed down here
Through a VPN?
through Smart DNS.
Through Smart DNS.
And the same thing with my using Dish, my brother's Dish. If I'm on ABC and my DNS service goes down, you know, like a computer or the router resets, my DNS has to be reset too. And if I don't have my DNS reset, it will not stream ABC or NBC.
This is using the Smart DNS.
Smart DNS, right?
Okay.
I've been really impressed with Smart DNS with the experience with helping Maggie set it up. I helped somebody else get it set up, and it was very impressive how easy it worked. The one thing that I will mention is I had an experience with Smart DNS and an Apple TV, and it's obvious Apple's doing their own thing because it would not work with Netflix on an Apple TV. One of the the Apple version of what a Roku is. If Smart DNS was enabled, the thing was not usable. You turn off Smart DNS and use your standard DNS, and it would come up perfectly, but it would be the Mexican Netflix. Yeah, the Fire Stick, from my experience, works with Smart DNS. Yeah. Bill.
I was trying to use Netflix American because they happen to have a movie on it that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And I use ExpressVPN. That's what I use, and it wouldn't go. It says, "Oh, it's obvious you're using a VPN." So I just got on the chat line with ExpressVPN, and the guy says, "Oh, use this one. It'll work." And I changed my
This location or?
Yeah, just I went to this location, fired it up, and then bang, away it goes. And he says, please don't spread it around on chat forums because these guys watch this sort of thing, and it's been working.
Yeah,
The
ExpressVPN.
trouble with the ExpressVPN you'll find is the list of servers that work in certain locations changes about every 2 months.
Oh, this one's been working all winter.
The real problem is it's whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what's going on. Is the service finds the group of IPs that is associated with people using VPNs, and they shut those down. And now you need to find another group of IPs to be part of.
I think Express is the one where then you have to do a reinstall.
No, I didn't have.
The thing with the Smart DNS, because of the way they're doing that, all of the onus is on them to do the whack-a-mole game, not on you. The most you'll get is a message saying this is down right now. You might be back up in a day, an hour, a couple minutes. You might call them, you might chat with them, and they're like, yeah, we're working on it right now. but it's their game, it's not your game. Whereas the VPN ends up being your game.
I haven't had anything for much more game that's in the last few years. I don't do it, other than, like I say, when your router shuts off, you have to go in and reset the VPN.
Yeah.
Not reset, just update it. And just going on the computer on your login, you'll have to reset the IP address.
Let's have the word, and then you can add it right into your router.
Yeah, I had that experience the other day, and that was very successful. In fact, it's something that we should do with yours, so that if you lose your internet connection, it'll just automatically update your smart DNS, so you don't have to go to your computer and do it yourself. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've turned into TV Club again.
Maybe she called.
Any good shows out there somebody want to share?
Where are we going to project them?
I did bring a couple of topics that I thought you guys might find interesting. This morning, Facebook advertised to me a product called SkyRoam, and it reminded me that somebody had asked me about this stuff. And so I looked into it. I followed their propaganda and saw what it was all about, and it looks pretty decent. It's not inexpensive. It's kind of expensive. They've got $100 a month, $9 a day.
Yeah,
but-
they're expensive.
But what they guarantee is that it's global, it's 4G, it's a Wi-Fi hotspot, and you can stick it in your pocket and take it with you wherever. I did verify that the service is available United States, Canada, and Mexico. And so what this is like having a device almost as big as a cell phone that would act as a hotspot that connects to a 4G cell network. And the fact that they say it's available for use in Canada, Mexico, and I think they said there was 140 countries that you can use it in, means that SkyRoam, like the two words, like roaming around.
Where's the signal coming from?
It's coming from the cell network, and so it's going to be as effective as any place you might have 4G connectivity.
Okay, so
But-
if you're way out in the boonies, you're likely not to have connectivity.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, if you're way out in the sticks, it may not help you. But if you're traveling within areas, like we have 4G now all over San Carlos, and if you pay attention to those speeds, they're crazy. They're 50 to 150 megabits a second. I mean, this is a real internet connection. If you can't get a real internet connection in your house, but you've got 4G connectivity, this might be an option if you're willing to pay $100 a month for it. They don't have one. It's unlimited. Yeah, they do things based on time, and so their contracts are unlimited use, either by the day or by the month. And so you can have it, and you can know you're going somewhere where you're not going to have any internet available to you, and you can turn it on for a day for $9, and you have unlimited access for $9. But it's a 24-hour period. Or you could subscribe to it monthly. And you can get 30 days for $100. Ooh, that's a good question. I didn't look at that.
Soulless. S-O-L-I-S.
Well, the one the company I was looking at is SkyRoam. Is that
Yeah, but the name of the box.
the box? It looks like a hockey puck.
Yeah,
Does
bright
Android-
orange.
Yeah.
Doesn't Android have a hotspot app for your phone?
Sure, but you are subject to your
Data plan.
your data plans, your carrier, and that's the thing about this kind of offering is you don't care if it's Telcel, if it's AT&T, if it's Verizon. What you care about is they said it's going to work, and you're paying them, and they've worked out all those data interchanges.
And turning it on and off for travel is fantastic.
Yeah.
Is this phone $10 a day?
Well, that's what I was gonna ask, is this your phone as
This
well?
this is hotspot Wi-Fi.
Okay, so can you explain that, because somebody said, why aren't you using your phone as a personal hotspot? When I was down in Barra, I couldn't get internet.
Right. And
So what does that mean?
so you mean like what's the difference between using your phone as a hotspot and using this device?
Well, what is using my phone as a hotspot? What does that mean?
Well, most modern smartphones now have the ability to do tethering.
Yes.
And so what that means is that you're able to turn it on so that the data plan that you're subscribed to can be broadcasted as a Wi-Fi signal to connect your devices to.
Okay.
So you could hook your laptop, your tablet, whatever device you have, through your phone to your cell carrier to get your internet.
Okay.
The problem with that is that you are subject to the same data restrictions that your phone is. You might be roaming in certain areas. You might have a cap on how much data you can use, or a premium cost you have to pay if you've gone beyond that cap. Whereas what this service is here's internet, as much as you want to use for this price, provided at speeds of 4G, and that's as deep as you get into it.
But I can't go backwards and hook my phone to that.
Well, that's not what it's intended to. You could hook your phone as a Wi-Fi, because your phone supports Wi-Fi just like your laptop does, just like your tablet does. So you could use it in that respect. And actually, now that we've seen AT&T's wireless calling work successfully down here, then you could easily use it for that as well. So you could use AT&T's wireless calling offering across the device like that.
Okay, the box is $149 and it comes with a power bank.
With a plug-in?
Yeah.
What's a power bank? You're talking about
Like
a plug-in?
Okay, so it's $149.99.
And what's the rent on it? Because I saw that you could rent it as well.
Yeah, you can rent it. Let me see what it says.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Skyroam device.
They also offer a prepaid card, 5 days for $40. That's $8 a day.
So you save $10,
Yeah.
roughly, like $8 to $9 to $10.
It's great if you can, because you can't use totally different Wi-Fi, phones.
Oh, you mean like if you tried to use your phone in Japan, you wouldn't be able to, but maybe this would be. Yeah, they have a list of countries. I didn't stick Japan in it. I was more concerned with Mexico, Canada, and the United States.
They don't use DSL.
I use my Magic Jack on my smartphone, so if I'm out somewhere in San Carlos, my phone rings in my house and rings on my cell.
Yeah, I do too.
Sure, yeah. Has anybody been having problems with the Magic Jack app on their smartphone? Mine keeps crashing. Everything else on my phone's working great, but Magic Jack is not.
Well, I have lost a lot of calls.
Yeah?
And I'll turn right, call them right back, and then there's no problem. But sometimes it happens 2 or 3 times in the conversation.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, because I got plenty of memory on the phone. The phone's fast enough. I've uninstalled the app. I've reinstalled the app. I can use it for texting. Everything works until I decide to make a call or answer a call, and then it just crashes and restarts itself.
Yeah, it's gotta be the company itself.
While we're on telephones, is there a way to get an unlimited plan on telephone or data?
I'm going to find out today.
Okay, this says, rent a Skyroam hotspot for your next trip. Order a hotspot with unlimited global Wi-Fi.
Yep.
As low as $9.95 a day, unlimited internet.
Yep.
So that's if you rent. And then it says delivery and return. Choose how to receive your hotspot. Choose how to return your hotspot. So you'd have to order it. You have to order it ahead of time so that you can get it unless they have places at the airport you can pick them up.
Well, Linda, there's a market for them right there as a little kiosk vending machine in an airport.
Probably is
Yeah.
airport vending machine for you to drop it off.
So if you're in the Ranchito, and it's Super Bowl Sunday when the Wi-Fi here goes down, not this year, but a lot of times, this would be a one-day thing that you might get, because you have to buy the machine.
Yeah, well, you need the hotspot, so you need to already have that.
You do $10 for that, but then you gotta buy the machine for $150.
Yeah, or rent it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it is pricey, but at the same time it's amazing. It's an amazing option to have available.
Travel,
Yeah.
Good.
You got 4G on your cell phone and you got an unlimited
Data plan on
data
that.
plan, and you don't need to buy $150.
Yeah, but Telcel
But-
doesn't work everywhere.
Again, that's really the issue, is that they're talking unlimited. Most of these cell phones, when they say unlimited, means you get 2 gigabytes or 3 gigabytes, and then they have a process for how you deal with data after that. It slows down or you pay more. And what they're saying is, you pay us this, you always have internet whenever for whatever you've paid for. So you pay $100 for the month, all month. You've got these fast data rates. You can use as much of it as you want.
Go back to, going back to the question we were talking about earlier, if you are traveling and really are back in the buildings, what is the best solution for trying to
There-
internet access?
Yeah, if you don't have cell access, then it's pretty limited. I think satellite is what you're.
Really?
I use Jetpack with Verizon.
You use what? Jetpack?
It's a similar device that runs on the Verizon network, so you'd have to have access to the Verizon network to take advantage of that.
But
It suffers from the same problem.
I found very seldom, right, I'm not sure, Verizon.
Yeah. The question was, if you're out in the boonies where you're having trouble getting cell service, what do you do for internet? Yeah, and that Verizon wouldn't work any better than this would if you couldn't get 4G.
What I'm saying is, traveling throughout the West, right, up there, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Really? Even if you were boondocking?
And you can move it around, take it with you.
Yeah.
Well, I also
I-
have an antenna booster.
Right.
An antenna on the roof that is a booster.
That's probably the difference. Because I have Verizon that covers a big area of travel.
Right.
But there are areas.
I don't think I've ever found an area where I was, I couldn't get by.
Well, you need to visit Alaska more often.
We're going to Alaska, and that's why I'm asking.
There isn't a.
Rent a satellite phone. That's what we do.
You use the satellite phone for internet or just phone coverage? Just phone coverage, yeah. And that's really the issue, is that there are still remote areas in Alaska. There's so many mountains that you go around a corner into a community, and that whole community doesn't have internet. You could, like Cold Bay is a good example. It's like a whole community that's using 128 kilobits a second.
Yeah.
They're all sharing this one link to GCI.
And they all live in Quonset.
I don't think Jetpack is all that. Well, we're gonna build one. $30 a month.
Yeah.
I have to. He rented it. I use it. So I have no idea.
We all have to go to different places where we pay with the internet.
Yeah.
We have anything more? I did bring one other topic, just a quick one. Did you guys see that Washington is the first state to pass a law protecting net neutrality? Yeah. So it didn't go into great detail of how they're going to do it, but right from the article it says this bill, this HB 2282, bars internet service providers in the state from blocking content, applications, or services, or slowing down traffic on the basis of content or whether they got paid to favor certain traffic. And the law is going to...
They'll tax it.
What do you mean they're going to tax it?
They tax everything.
California will be next.
Well, this will go into effect June 6th, but this is one of the first laws to circumvent the repeal of the net neutrality regulations that happened earlier in the year at the end of last year.
Have you heard of the censorship by Google and YouTube of content?
I expand on that, Gary.
Okay, there's a man named Dennis Prager.
Mm-hmm.
Anything but a firebrand. One of had Prager University, so things online, different topics. one of the topics is why cigarettes are not good to have. That's been banned by Google and YouTube.
That's interesting.
Owned by Google, right? So they banned like, I don't know, 20 or 40% of news. We had 650 million views. So this is not a small time guy, so there's no
Yeah, Prager is actually pretty well known in tech circles.
extremely well known, and if you ever heard him, he's very logical, very calm kind of guy. But anyway, that would be my thing. That Google has decided it's not his content is not good for children. So they've made an arbitrary decision. And some of these, why we entered the Korean War. I mean, there's an opinion. This is not, but Google has decided that that's not.
Well, and I wonder if that's region based, because they've. Sure, but I guess what I'm saying is, like, for example, they have a ban on Hitler type propaganda and selling and discussion groups when it comes to Germany. Yeah, they don't want to encourage any of that, and so there's censorship of that content specifically for that country. And I wonder if that's included in as well. I mean, I think banning anything is a bad way to go. In my personal opinion, I think it is.
I'm not sure, freedom of speech.
But these issues are becoming very nuanced as we go forward with this. Google's a company. They're out to make a profit, and you could imagine that if he's hurting their ability to make money, then they're going to try and do something to stop him. And that might be as simple as...
Not always financially motivated.
Well, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that it's not, I mean, it's not run by us, it's run by them. They can make these decisions just the same way Facebook can make these decisions. You can choose to use Google services or not, that's your choice. But you're subject to whatever Google decides their rules are.
Absolutely, just the same, you're subject to patrolling if you're going to run your car.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They happen to have a monopoly right now, so if you just decide not to drive your vehicle, then you don't have to use the test.
Yeah, no, I think that's an apt analogy, because what will happen in the marketplace is if this becomes an ongoing issue, it opens up an opportunity for another service to come about that will allow those kinds of things to take place. And then it becomes a more competitive marketplace, because
that's possible at this point with Google controlling such a large part.
A large mind share. And I think we've talked about this kind of stuff before. I would not be surprised somewhere down the line we start looking at services like Google Search, like Facebook's feeds, and questioning whether those are individual companies, because they've become like utilities to so many of us. Why wouldn't people start behaving and treating and setting rules based on them the same way we do water and electricity? We're this close to doing that with internet across the world. We already mostly agree that internet is a utility like water and electricity. So it's only one abstraction layer higher to go, well, no, Facebook's a utility as well. Google Search is a utility as well.
How do you spell those?
Scott?
Yes, Bob.
Did anybody have trouble parking today?
Oh, hey, what's going on with the parking?
Well, I'll tell you. The Caballero Group has closed off, since they say it's their property. And Damien says that they have parking, they own this property right here, so you can park there.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. That was a very threatening fence this morning.
I was caught on the other side, I couldn't get out.
It's a problem.
They fenced you in.
It's a problem that the courts are dealing with.
Okay. That's,
This one down here has got a pretty good curve going over. And
They probably just
it's a
want to
little
sell it
easier
to
up
tequilas.
here, 'cause there was a car in there today, but if you drive it, you wanna get the short curve up here and pull it in and find a spot. I was at an ATV, so it didn't really matter.
You know, if you spend enough time in Mexico, you learn that if there's questions about what you own as far as property, you better fence it and kick people off of it. If you allow them to continue to use it, it's like squatters' rights,
Yeah.
and you could lose your rights to that property simply because you didn't do that.
Same thing over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You allow somebody to cross your property for 17 or 18 years. And
It's unconstructed use.
Common law.
Interesting. Yeah.
Sometimes
Well.
some people
Well, guys, we've kind of reached the end. I hit all my topics. Did everybody get their questions answered? Any last things here? Jim, you got something?
On your Magic Jack app, if you have people that wanna get a hold of you, try out iPlum.
iPlum.
iPlum is a call forwarding that, I've got a 650 area code in it for the kids. You can get any area code you want. It costs you 99 cents a month. That's the cheap plan. You get 10 credits, which is good for 10 calls, unlimited length.
You
And
can
it,
choose your phone number in any country.
yeah,
No.
and it rolls over.
Yes.
So your 10 credits for your first one goes to 20 the next month. If you don't.
They don't expire.
Right.
Right.
Well, I think it does after 3 months. There's only 3 rollovers. And
Oh.
then you can only have so much in the bank. But they have different plans, 99 cents a month, and now the kids, if there's something wrong and they want to get a hold of me, I mean, they call this phone. It's not long distance for them. It's just 650 area code. When we're in the States traveling, I always have a Telcel phone.
Mm-hmm.
But here, they call it a 650 number. They're not calling international.
It shows, I use it on my Mexican phone number, so I have an assigned US phone number with iPhone.
Okay.
Person dials the US phone number, however, your caller ID might show a Mexican phone number, which sometimes confuses people.
You mean when you call them, it shows a Mexican?
Well,
If
when
they're showing,
you don't have
if they
outgoing.
log,
That the
It's only incoming.
outgoing is the big deal for me. That's what I use Magic Jack for, is outgoing.
Well, outgoing, you can
Yeah.
use your Mexican phone.
I can't. That's why somebody had asked if there's an unlimited data plan with Telcel, and I said I'm going to find out today because I have an ancient plan that I'm getting raped over.
You asked about that a month ago. Yeah, there
The
is. The international plan.
and so today my wife and I are going to sit down and figure out what my new plan for my new contract is for my cell phone, because I'm paying twice as much as a plan these days, and I have a very low. It's not a data cap because I have unlimited data, but if I go over a gig, it dials down to like 128K a second. And I can't make U.S. calls on my cell phone, and I can't receive U.S. calls without paying a premium.
AT&T have
I don't know. I don't know what is available at the moment, and we're gonna find out this afternoon.
We'll get a report next week.
Yeah, I will hopefully be on a different plan by next week.
I have to do all the plans, spend a couple hours working different spots. AT&T by far the best.
Yeah.
Best one goes if you actually have a Mexican credit card.
Good luck in
Require
that.
that.
We'll find out.
Pre-buy like 2 years.
Oh, that's interesting.
Now, what is that service name that you
iPlum?
Okay, well, I'm talking a couple more. One is iPlum.
iPlum, like the fruit, spelled like the fruit with an I in front of it.
Yeah.
iPlum.
Low purple ID every zone. The only thing it is a little confusing is when your phone rings, you go, okay, which one of these two is it?
Yeah.
So you have two phone things to answer your phone.
Oh, okay.
Whether it's ringing the Mexican number or something, you have each one of the tones different. So they have to stop the thing.
But it's actually an app that you answer.
It's an app.
Okay, so it's very similar to the way Magic Jack works. Yeah.
It was was actually designed for people like doctors who just want to give out their private number. And so, to their clients, so they give out this 2-second number to dial the doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
multiple numbers actually for a pretty reasonable price.
Hmm. Good to know. I'd never heard of
The
it.
interesting one, the interesting part is it's good, you can choose whatever country. There's like 100 countries.
You know, track phone is really big in the States. That is really cheap.
Track phone. Now that's a self-service though, right? Yeah. $100 a year, unlimited calling?
Yep.
That's interesting. Can you use it down here?
They have an international plan. I have 2 phones, so I have one for down here and one for up there.
Okay.
For me, it's just easy. I send them the 100 a year, and then I know I'm covered on the highway or with the kids or whatever. It's fine. It's very adequate.
And it has data as well? That's interesting. Yeah, one thing I wanted to mention about the AT&T, I do know something about it. A friend of mine decided he got frustrated with Telcel and moved over to AT&T, and they were able to move his phone line, his phone number, over to AT&T. Yeah. Oh, you did that as
You have
well?
to have your phone checked, because I have the Samsung S5, and I went into AT&T, and the girl takes your SIM card out and puts their SIM card in to check it,
Mm-hmm.
and my phone wouldn't work in there.
That's
So
interesting.
you should just go in there and have them check it before you decide.
Well, you need to unlock your phone before you go.
Well, you have an unlocked phone, though, don't you? Yeah. Yeah. I would think it would have more to do with radios and compatibility with radios.
Well, I went in there, and the girl took my SIM card off my Telcel,
Mhm.
put in the AT&T, and it didn't work, so she said I couldn't use my phone. So I don't know why.
Yeah.
You need to go in there and have your phone checked. Is your phone a Telcel?
Yeah.
Well, then you might not be able to.
Oh, I'm sorry. My service is Telcel. My phone is just my phone's a.
But you didn't get it from them?
No. I got it from the
So I
internet.
just got a new account with them.
With Telcel or AT&T?
With Telcel. I went
Oh, with
for 1
Telcel.
gigabyte.
Yeah.
I had them to go to the US and all that. The best one is 3 gigabytes. So I think it's 500 paces.
For 3 gigabytes? And then what if it happens if you go over 3 gigabytes?
They have a thing that turns you off.
It turns
You
you.
can still use the phone, but you can't get the.
You can't get data.
No.
Can. Oh, you can?
No, not if you have an account. No, not if you have an account.
But we're talking about Telcel versus AT&T right now, right?
I have Telcel.
And you have AT&T. AT&T, you can.
I've never had to. Told me I could do it.
And when it turns off, have you had it turn off yet? When it turned off, did you?
That's what cued me to go down there. And because
We do better?
there's a lot of stuff. You use those emojis.
Right.
That eats up data.
Yeah.
Like on Messenger.
Mhm.
I tried to clean off as much as I could.
My son has it.
All of that stuff is eating up your data.
I don't think it does on WhatsApp.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Is when it
WhatsApp is separate.
when it turns off, can you still use WhatsApp
Yes.
and
Yes,
Facebook
because you
and
get-
Twitter?
You get 1,000 WhatsApp and 1,000 Facebook and the Twitter, which I don't use. But you get those are separate.
Because they've been marketing those as unlimited.
Yeah, but their market, they just started, but what I'm saying is, that's totally separate than your gigabytes for using.
Well, on my
Chrome,
plan,
etc.
they dialed down the data rate to almost unusable if I go over the cap.
Well, they just
And
turn
it
you off.
affects Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp. I mean, there are these guys running around with pay-as-you-go throwaway phones getting better data rates than I am, getting more data than I am, paying less money, and that's what's got me burned right now.
So I'm paying $525 for 3,000 gigabytes. I mean, yeah, for 3,000 plus,
See, I'm paying more than that right now.
plus Facebook, WhatsApp, and, Twitter.
Okay.
Those have their own 1,000 or whatever gigabytes, and now it's unlimited, because we just got that notice. But it was 1,000 gigabytes.
For those services.
Separate,
Yeah.
than your data.
It's good info.
Yeah.
Good info. I'm gonna find out some more today. Yeah.
All right, we're expecting a full report.
All right. I'm gonna shut this meeting down so I can turn off all this
They
equipment.
make you sign a new 2-year contract.
Well, that's okay.
So that's,
I don't think I've signed a contract in 10 years. I've been on the same phone number forever. This has been the San Carlos Computer Club, and if you are looking at my cameras, you can see these tables are empty, except for these nice folks right here in front of me that are waiting to ask me questions about something, I'm sure. So I'm going to go, but thanks for joining us. We meet every Tuesday from 9:15 to 10:15 here in Tequilas in San Carlos. If you have computer issues, I'd sure appreciate it if you get a hold of my business. Locally, you could call 226-0209 or look for our website, internationalcs.net. If you're interested in the computer club, that website is scclub.org, and you can see posts of these recordings. You can subscribe to our podcast. Go to iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you get podcasts, and do a search for the San Carlos Computer Club. As well as YouTube, you can find us. So that's it for this week, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday. Until then, tech on.